got sponsored in '86, every company was actually trying to get me to skate for their company. I went with Pal Peralta because, dude, they were the best. The Bones Brigade, Lance Mountain, Stacy Peralta. That was like a dream. The only team that didn't ask me that weekend, or so it seemed, was the Alva team. Right off the bat, I got a bad vibe from the Alva dudes. So then I go out to the Oceanside contest, and I skate in the contest, and I get first place, and I think Jeff Hartzell got second place. And then every other AM contest I skated in after that, it was always like me and Hartzell were the top AMs at the time, and I always beat him. And the truth is, I could not skate as good as Jeff Hartzell. I was beating him with the tricks of the day, basically. Through the course of this period of time, I began to receive a lot of grief from the Alva team, and especially from Tony Alva. This guy was straight up cruel to me. He did it in such nasty, mean ways, man. One time at a contest in Arizona, I was walking down the hallway in the hotel, and his door opens, and he grabs me, and he pulls me into the room. He used to call me Big Bird. That was his name for me. I was like kind of lanky, and I didn't have control of my limbs, and I had a big ass nose. Fucking Big Bird. He's got me against the wall in his hotel room. Fucking Big Bird. You can't skate for shit. You do stupid hand plants. You're never gonna amount to nothing. You fucking beat Hartzell. You have no fucking right. It was just me and him. No one else was watching. I was like scared. Not scared of him, but I was just scared. I was just like, I didn't want anyone to dislike me. To me, he was Tony Alva. He was like a legend, you know? I was like more embarrassed or something by it, but I never even told anybody. Similar things like that had happened prior to this one incident, but this time in Arizona, he took me in a room, pinned me against the wall, and was like really giving it to me, and then just like, get the fuck out of my room, Big Bird, you know? So I leave, and I'm like fucked up in the head from it. I'm hurt, and I'm distraught. I go to the room I'm staying in. I was sharing a room with Mark Gonzalez and Jason Lee. I go in the room, and I'm like, fuck, man. Gonz is like, what's wrong? It's like, fucking Tony Alva, man. I hate that fucking guy. And he's like, what did he do? You know, I'm like, dude, he fucks with me, man. He like gives me shit. And he's like, I'm sick of Tony Alva. I fucking had enough of fucking Tony Alva. I'm gonna fucking go tell him right now. And Gonz leaves the room, and then Gonz comes back, and he's like, tells us he's gonna fight Tony Alva. We're like, what the fuck, man? You're gonna fight Tony Alva? He's like, yeah, I'm meeting him at like the hot tub or something, like at like 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock rolls around. Me, Dune, Felix, and Jason Lee are all sitting in the hot tub. And Gonz is just kind of on foot, on guard around the hot tub. And all of a sudden we see Tony Alva, like he appears. In my head I hear like this, like, you know, Good, Bad, and Ugly soundtrack going down, you know? And there's Tony Alva like in the distance, and there's Gonz. Alva starts making his way towards Gonz, and then I look over, in one corner of the hotel area is Chris Cook, and then in another corner is like Eddie Reddigy, and then in another corner is Jeff Hartzell, and we're like fucking surrounded, you know? I don't even know that we were thinking of ourselves as backup for Gonz, but suddenly we were stuck in that, you know, situation. So Alva walks up to me, he's like, what the fuck, Gonz? What the fuck's your fucking problem, man? And he's like, you leave Mike alone. And I'm like, oh my God, you know? And he's like, get the fuck out of my face, Gonz. And Gonz goes into like a boxing stance. Apparently Gonz knows how to box. Like, he looked good, you know? He's throwing jabs, but they're mostly at the air, you know? Just like, he's throwing combinations and stuff. He's just kind of showing Alva what could happen. And then he decides to, like, you know, actually start swinging at Alva. And he jabs him a couple times in the face and comes in for a couple combos. And Alva just grabs Gonz by the neck and he's like, just stop, Gonz. I'll fucking kill you, man. I will fucking kill you. The other Alva guys kind of came in real quick and surrounded him, and we kind of got out of the hot tub, but weren't sure what to do, and it just kind of fizzled out. Like, it just kind of ended, you know? And then I decided from that time on, I wasn't gonna like say anything ever again, you know? Around end of the summer of '98, I was unsponsored. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, you know, my sponsorship career or what company I was going to end up with. Called a lot of companies. A lot of people didn't accept my phone call. And the few that did said, you know, they had no interest in working with me at all. The trade show was coming, and I'm like, fuck, man. I gotta go to the trade show, and I gotta be one of those assholes walking the trade show aisles, like trying to make a connection with somebody, you know? So I go down to the trade show, and I'm standing in line to get my badge, and Tony Alva's standing in the line. He looks over at me, he's like, what's up, Mike? He's like, don't have a sponsor, huh? And I was like, holy shit. And he's like, don't worry about it, bro. It'll all work out. And I was like, all right, thanks, man, you know? It was kind of strange, you know? Like, one, how does he know? You know, if he knows, everybody knows, you know? And two, like, it's just hard for me to appreciate what he was saying, like everything will work out. I didn't feel that way, you know? I ended up really not going into the trade show. I I got embarrassed. You know, the fact that he knew that I was kind of gonna be parading around. Like, I was like, man, I don't want anyone to see me like this. Matt Hensley's band was playing that night, so I was like, well, I drove all the way down here. I'm not gonna just drive home. And then that night, went to the club where the show was. The first person I see is Tony Alva sitting at the bar, and he calls me over and he's like, let me buy you a beer. So he gets a beer for me, and he has a beer, and we salute, and he's like, hey man, he's like, I want to tell you something. He's like, I fucking hated you. I fucking hated you when you were a kid. You were like the worst. You were the epitome of everything I fucking hated about skateboarding in the 80s. And he goes, but I'm fucking proud of you, bro. Through the years, you fucking persevered, man. You stuck to your fucking guns. He's like, that's fucking respect. And he's like, people like you and me, we could be in a fucking canoe in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with one fucking paddle, and we'd make it to fucking Hawaii, because that's the kind of fucking dudes we are. I got what he was saying, and I knew what he was saying. I knew the truth of what he was saying, you know. His path hadn't been an easy path either, you know. I don't know what the right word is for it, but it was a moment in my life and in time where it wouldn't have mattered if my career ended and I didn't get another sponsor, and you know, I didn't continue on as a pro, because I had gotten the respect and the appreciation of a guy like Tony Alva, you know, and to me, that was all I needed at that time, and it re-energized me, and it kind of got me ready for the next round. And I went in and I started swinging again, and ended up on Black Label, and my career fucking took off from there. The timing was right. I needed to hear that from that particular guy at that particular time.